Hello everyone, welcome back to clusterbmilkshake. I'm your host along with support puppet Mr. Chicken. Yes. Today we are going to talk about a psychopath's emotions. I'm going to read you an article from psychopathyawareness.wordpress.com, and I'm going to tell you how I feel about what they be writing about. Okay, and the reason why I thought that this was interesting is because I'm always trying to find out more about myself so I can have more insight. Another thing is, even though that I get insight on specific subjects that I do look up, they do not stick. The reason behind behaviors, it doesn't matter, because when I'm in it, I'm not good enough to really process in the moment why I'm having such thoughts and feelings about things, and I will just react to them. Okay. But it is, interesting to really dive deep into why I'm having these emotions or behaviors. Because the other day I was watching a video on this expert or therapist, whatever the fuck, who was talking about narcissistic behavior, and she was injecting a lot of psychopathic behavior. So people are getting confused on narcissism and what psychopathy is. All right. And I did leave a comment on, the difference between control. But anyway, but that's the thing, is a lot of us who are diagnosed or even undiagnosed and just roaming the world, we don't know a lot of why we do. I mean, the deep root cause. Sure, it's I want what I want, but okay, but why? Why do I have these compulsions? Why do I have these behaviors that I am not consciously, aware of the reasoning behind it? It's like, why? Because how am I supposed to stop myself or even try to find a crumb of shame, which will make me feel like mortified, to stop these things? Because that's the only way that it's going to calm the fuck down, is if I can be aware enough to be disgusted with myself. Otherwise, I'm just going to do it. And with no awareness, with no insight, with nothing. Okay? I don't know if that made sense. Okay, here we go. So far, I've asked you to imagine a person who lacks empathy for others and the capacity to feel any emotion deeply. I've asked you to imagine a person who is plagued by relentlessness and boredom and finds soul satisfaction in duping, manipulating, and controlling others. But why? Okay? A person who may simulate respect or politeness, but who fundamentally regards others with contempt, as objects to be used, or his temporary diversion or satisfaction. A person who suffers from an intolerable and absolute egocentrism. Egocentrism. I hope I said that right. Okay. Here we go. But even this doesn't even begin to give you a full picture of a psychopath's emotional poverty. It may describe what a psychopath can't feel, but to understand how and why the psychopath is driven to harm others, you need to also get a sense of what a psychopath does feel. Psychopaths can't tolerate loneliness. Now, this is another thing that I was pondering because I don't feel that I need other people, meat sacks around. But when I was thinking about it, I definitely did when I was younger. And that had to do with boredom too. I always had to have people around, and then even just on the internet, okay? So if that's a crossover thing, then okay. All right, I think, and I've read that when people with personality disorders get older, the darker traits and stuff calm down. Okay, all right. Where am I? I don't know. Just as all human beings can't survive physically without food or water, psychopaths can't survive emotionally without victims. People of this. All right. Of course, psychopaths regard love with contempt. They view loving and loyal couples as an ugly, indifferentiated blob. That's because of envy, all right? Because they can't experience or even understand love and loyalty, they see moral individuals as weak. Yes, because we always think that everybody's out to get us, or, everybody thinks like us and stuff. And so, yeah, that's a weakness. So we have to protect ourselves to be superior. Also, it's better to be the predator than the prey, right? Okay. But at the same time, psychopaths can't live without feeding upon the real and deeper emotions of people who care about them, of individuals who can love. In other words, of people they use, abuse, toy with, lie, and hurt. So people, see, now, if there's people out there that love you, me and my best friend used to make jokes about this before I ever knew about personality disorders, and it's just like, yeah, they think they're going to fix us with their love. So I didn't even know that I had a thing going on, but me and my best friend would joke about this, that they would try harder. So we knew that there was something not right and that we would not be able to change just because somebody loved us harder or was more compliant, okay? Now that doesn't mean that, I don't want attention. Your love is attention, okay? Psychopaths are often sexual predators, but even more often, and certainly more fundamentally, they're emotional predators. Yes, I would rather be have your mind than your ding dong, okay? What they want from their victims is far more than possessing their bodies or sex. They need to feed their insatiable appetite for harm. Now, I don't believe this. I believe that's more sadistic intent, and I have done that to people online, but not my long-term partners. So I don't know what the McFuck, they make everything so black and white. And to me, I'm sure that there are people out there that just use and discard, use and discard, use and discard. I don't know what makes me special. That I actually do want to possess, one partner. Not saying that, of course there's inner conflict and everything with that partner. But, I'm not somebody who just wants to dump and go. I think that that's unfortunately my life now. Because, that world out there, Clown Town, it fucking sucks. All right. So, where are we? They need to feed, okay, I said that, by possessing and destroying others inside out, body and soul. Like I said, I don't believe that. That's something that would be done like I said, sadistically fun out of boredom. I have read other psychopathy literature that does say, especially from being a young child, we do destructive things and shit out of boredom. I believe that. And but they're trying to figure out, do they still do that as adults? They're bored and so they do destructive things. Yes, I think so. I think so. Okay. I mean, I don't think beating your face in and everything is out of boredom. That's out of wanting power and control over you. All right. A psychopath's emotional framework is like a vacuum that needs to suck out the emotional energy from healthy individuals in order to survive. I do believe that that is the unconscious byproduct of the unawares out there. This is why I have called psychopaths real life vampires that we need to understand and worry about far more than their fictional counterparts. A psychopath lacks much more than empathy for others in his emotional repertoire, or hers. He also lacks the capacity to experience any kind of emotion that requires deeper insight and psychological awareness. I believe this too. I believe that it's painful with or without having the knowledge of who you is, okay? I think that it's easier to sleepwalk through life not knowing your disorder. It's easier to just take what you want and blame everybody else. Okay, it's more difficult to really dig deep into what the fuck's going on, because you'll have these little injury moments, or you feel, I don't want to say depressed, because who feels depressed for just a few minutes, but you don't feel super excited to be living. Okay, all right, refrigerators coming to say hello. He experiences only proto-emotions, which are as short-lived as they're intense. I guess that's what I'm talking about with the moments of depressive feelings or sadness or just not happy about yourself. The evidence point, okay, that they're talking about Scott Peterson and other people that killified their wives. All right. When angry or frustrated, a psychopath is capable of anything, even if his anger will dissipate a few minutes later. As Harvey Cleckley observes, in addition to his incapacity for object love, the psychopath always shows general poverty of affect. Although it is true that B sometimes becomes, that doesn't fucking sound right, but I'm just reading this shit, becomes excited and shouts as if in rage, or seems to exalt the enthusiasm, and again weeps in what appears to be bitter tears, or speaks eloquent and mournful words about his misfortunes and his follies, the conviction dawns on those who observe him carefully that here we deal with the why am I freezing? Hold on. Carefully, that here we deal with the readiness of expression rather than a strength of feeling. Now, I think this is a little contradictory, because it says above, when angry or frustrated, we are capable of anything. And then they said, you can't feel shit, but we feel it. We're feeling the thing. We're feeling the anger. We're feeling the frustration, the annoyance, the contempt, the whatever. Okay? It's just, you don't hold on to it for that long. And I have experienced this as well. There can be anxiety in the moment, especially frustration if you want somebody to behave a certain way so you don't feel, unease or whatever. And you can be upset. But if I don't have that need to have you act a certain way, and it's just being angry, frustrated, yelling at somebody, or just being a dick for whatever, those feelings can, slowly melt away. Not saying that we're not going to hold on to resentments and then have little flashes of feelings, later on down the road or whatever. Like, because my shit can just shut off, like a switch. It's like, even during breakups and stuff, it's like, I'm done with this shit. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to have any feelings down the road about it, or I'm not going to feel angry, upset, resentful, have moments of re-idealization. That doesn't happen in all relationships, but it does happen to, a slight few. But yeah, when you realize that there is no fixing, from having breakup moments, all over the place and stuff, it's just like, you can light switchy that shit and be just like, I'm done. I'm done for good. All right. So hopefully I won't have any more freezy moments. The proto-emotions expressed by a psychopath time in once again to the satisfaction or frustration of his immediate desires. Vexation, spite, quick and labile, I said it right this time, flashes of quasi-affection, peevish resentments, shallow moods of self-pity, childish attitudes of vanity, and absurd and showy poses of indignation are all within his emotional scale and are freely sounded as the circumstances of life play upon him. But mature, wholehearted anger, true or consistent indignation, honest, solid grief, sustaining pride, deep joy, and genuine despair are reactions not likely to be found on this scale. Okay. For this reason, psychopaths don't feel distress, even when they land in jail. Okay, that's just going to talk about jail time. We got it. Shallow feelings, blah, blah. So, the psychopath's emotions, how does he feel, or she? Number one, glee. Don't you feel happy when you get away with shit? Don't you? Have you ever cheated on a test and you got a fucking A? Don't you feel great? All right. Anyways, pulling a fast one on somebody and then you feel glee. Yes. All right. Number two, anger. Yes. Okay. Yes, we feel anger. Robert Hare notes, and without conscience, that since psychopaths have low impulse control, they're much more easily angered than normal people. A psychopath's display of anger tend to be cold, sudden, short-lived, and arbitrary. Generally, you can't predict what exactly will trigger his anger, since his emotions, like his charm, is used to control those around him. So it's if you are not somebody that is easily controlled or, agreeable. Okay? I mean, I can be hella fucking agreeable, with somebody. I've realized how I'm fucking sick of it. I'm sick of it. Why do I have to be so fucking agreeable? Why? Just to get along with your fucking swinging dick. Why? That's something I need to ponder in myself. Okay. A psychopath may blow up over something minor, but remain completely cool and collected about more serious matter. Yes. I've experienced that. Displays of anger represent yet another way for a psychopath to demonstrate that he is in charge. Yeah, I don't like that. When somebody is screaming, insults, hitting, or even wound or kill an individual, fuck you, type shit. And I'm not saying that I haven't insulted Yes, but the whole screaming thing, chill, motherfucker, okay? Number 3, frustration. This is where when I always talk about anxiety, this is it, okay? I'm anxious. I need to control my environment. I don't know what's up with my voice. Okay. This emotion is tied to their displays of anger, but isn't necessarily channeled against a particular person, but against an obstacle or situation. Yes, a psychopath may feel frustrated, for example, when his girlfriend doesn't want to leave her current partner for him, yet he may be too infatuated with her at the moment to channel his negative emotions against her. Yeah, so that's more goal-oriented. All right, number 4. Consternation. Consternation. As we have seen so far, psychopaths don't create love bonds with others. They establish dominance bonds instead. Now, this is where I say you are trauma bonded to the psychopathic person. They are not trauma bonded to you. So they are going to have more control over you because they have control over their emotions, because they're not feeling that depth of childhood trauma that you are. Okay. And I'm not saying that they can't, but you just ain't the person to create that much chaos in the psychopathic person, okay? So, for instance, if a psychopath isolates his partner from his family, all right, what am I talking about here? Let me go back for a second. They establish dominance bonds instead. When those controlled by a psychopath disapprove of his actions or sever the relationship, sometimes he'll experience anger, but his immediate reactions is more likely to be surprise or consternation. Psychopaths can't believe that their bad actions, which they always consider justifiable and appropriate, could ever cause another human being who was previously under the spell to disapprove of their behavior and reject them. Why have you changed? You used to take my shit. Right? All right. Let me see. Next, boredom. Number 5. This is probably the only feeling that gives psychopaths a nagging sense of discomfort. Yes, big time. They try to alleviate it, as we've seen, by pursuing cheap thrills, harming others, and engaging in transgressive behavior. Nothing, however, can relieve for long the psychopath's fundamental ENNUI, whatever the fuck that means. All right. Anyways, I don't want to know what that means, but yes. So it feels like you're just dead all the time. Okay. And so you want to experience fun and a good time. And if you are not bringing that type of joy into the psychopathic person or even narcissistic person's life, I've seen this in borderlines too, they will discard you and find somebody else, okay? So yeah, nothing, however, can relieve. Right, he gets quickly used to and thus also bored with each new person and activity. So stop thinking that, they're just going to move on to somebody else and then they're just going to be complete in every way. No, that doesn't happen. The only way that they stay around somebody or keep cycling back to somebody is either the trauma bond with them or they think that you're a dummy and you will come back to them. Okay? So if you are going back, don't think it's because of love and light. Think of it as just go and get some sexy time. Okay, get some sexy time. And then take off because I'm working on myself. That's not real. Okay, that's not real. All right. Histrionic flashes. I said that right this time. I'm not sure if this is an emotion, but I know for sure that the psychopath's dramatic display of love, remorse, and empathy lack any meaning and depth, okay? And then they go on to explain during trials and stuff, how people will act all sad or whatever and then turn around and start laughing with their lawyer and stuff like that. Anyways, to me, it's just we can't hold on to emotions, sadness or whatever. That's why I like when I'm having a real sad fucked up moment or whatever, and I would videotape it. I would have to videotape it right then and there, because the feeling is going to go away. The emotion's going to go away. Okay? So that's what I believe is happening. Although, people can fake emotions, of course. You fake the body language and stuff like that. But even when a psychopathic person is trying to fake an emotion, sometimes it doesn't jive with what is actually going on in the moment. So like when you're supposed to be sad, you're laughing. Okay, I have done this. It's like, you weren't supposed to cry when you were younger, so now when dark things happen to you or fucked up things happen, you're like, fucking, it is what it is, man, and you're just fucking laughing about it. Or uncomfortable feelings make you laugh. I don't know. I'm sure some people out there understand what I'm saying, but I mean, comedians, they fucking know. All right, 7, infatuation. When they identify someone as a good potential target, psychopaths can become obsessed with that particular person. Thank you. In Without Conscience, Hare compares the psychopath's focused attention upon his chosen target as a powerful beam of light that illuminates only one spot at a time. He also likens it to a predator stalking prey. Yes. Because psychopaths tend to ignore their responsibilities, such as their jobs and families, and have no conscience whatsoever, they can focus on pursuing a given target more intensely than multidimensional, loving men or women could. All right? This is especially a case if their target presents an exciting challenge. If they are rich or famous, or if they're married to another man or woman, which triggers their competitive drive. Yes, I used to do that just for fucking fun, just to see if I could get you away from your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend, and then I get rid of you. It wasn't like, okay, that's wrong, because I was married, and when I was pursuing my second husband, he had a girlfriend. So he was my target, and I went after him, and I didn't care that he had a fucking girlfriend. I was going to seduce this motherfucker. Okay, 25 years later, I win. All right, self-love, sort of. Number 8. Yeah, there ain't no self-love. Since psychopaths only care about themselves, one would think that self-love would be the one emotion they could experience more deeply. In a sense, that's true. No. Since their whole lives revolve around the single-minded pursuits of selfish goals, but this is also what makes psychopath self-love shallow. Yeah, that ain't fucking love. By pursuing fleeting pleasures and momentary whims, psychopaths sabotage their own lives as well. Rarely do they end up happy or successful. Okay, I'm going to be successful. They spend their whole lives hurting and betraying those who loved and trusted them, using and discarding their partners, disappointing the expectations of their families, friends, bosses, and colleagues, and moving from one meaningless diversion to another. Yes, at the end of the road, most of them end up empty-handed and alone. Even if they are with somebody for a long term relationship, they are alone within themselves, okay? Because they cannot bond. I did a video on why narcissists and psychopaths cannot bond in depth. So go watch that for deeper understanding on that. I also finished this book, Small Sacrifices, about Diane Downs, who unalived one of her kids and shot the other 2 for a man. For a man. Now, this was depressive a little bit for a moment, because I saw a lot of my mother in here and a lot of myself in here. But, I would unalive anybody who tried to harm my children. So we different in that way. But other things, we are alike. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Have a great day. Namaste.